I want to let them know that they need to empower themselves, to speak up for themselves and to advocate for themselves, because many Jamaicans statistically are born out with single parents. And many of them end up living with their grandparents, similar to us. And their grandparents are literally just working to keep a roof over their heads and to put food on the table, and are not able to be involved in their school life and their school activities.
Welcome to the Immigrant Experience in America, an immigrant human library, where we amplify and humanize the experiences of immigrants in the United States and around the world. Listen in as we add another story to our immigrant human library. Hello, listeners, and thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Immigrant Experience in America, where we amplify and humanize the experiences of immigrants living in the United States and around the world. We're happy to have another guest or guests to add to our Immigrant Human Library, the place where you can come to learn about what people's experience are when they leave their birth countries and are now living in another country abroad, and how they adjust, challenges, how do they get to their place of success, or the American dream, if you will. Today we have Keishia Thorpe and Treisha Thorpe. They're actually twins. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, wonderful to have you on the show. If you don't mind just going into a bit about your professional background or personal background, as much or as little as you'd like to share.
Well, as you said, I'm Keishia Thorpe. I'm actually currently the Global Teacher Prize winner of 2021, which means that I'm a Nobel Prize educator. I'm also a licensed principal. I teach at the International High School Langley Park, which is in Bladensburg, Maryland, which is also part of the Prince George's County public school system. And I'm her, I'm her better half, maybe. And I am Dr. Treisha Thorpe, and I am a college professor with Colorado State University, one of the universities that I've taught since I have graduated my master's degree. And I also, my full-time daytime job is with the federal government. So I work in federal government in regulatory supervision and policy. And I get to bring that experience to the classroom as well. And really and truly, I think a great part of what makes us as a great duo is our work with our nonprofit organization, which is US Elite International. I think we'll get some more into that. But so just to kind of give you a little bit of our background, really, is, of course, we are Jamaicans, and we went to what we say the most prestigious St. Andrew High School for girls in Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica. So don't get it twisted. It's still called St. Andrew, I've heard, and we've had an opportunity to go back and visit. We don't have lots of family in Jamaica, or basically no close relatives in Jamaica, but we do keep contacts, and I'll say too that all the folks that we've interacted with, who've networked with, who have worked with us on our dear projects that we've had in Jamaica, have become our Jamaican family. So it's kind of like now we've had our home here in the US. So it's kind of home away from home, even though it was our heritage and original home. So we do enjoy always going back. We enjoy the culture, the music, the food. As always, when we go back, I think that's one of our pastime that we really enjoy when we go back. We've not really had an opportunity to really experience Jamaica a lot. When we go, we are on a mission. We're on a mission to do what we do best, and which is a passion project for us with our organization, which is to help young girls, young boys, young students like us who were born in poverty, who were coming from economically disadvantaged situations, to get out of poverty and to get a higher education debt-free. And that's basically what our organization does. So when we really go, we really want to interact with those students. We really want to give them hope. We want to help them cater to their dreams and have higher pursuits. And so that is a part of what we really do and enjoy when we go back to Jamaica.
So I'm sitting here thinking, you work like a regular 40-hour job and then you go teach after that?
take naps between.
Girl, a true immigrant mentality that you hear.
Definitely. Survival of the fittest.
Right?
I think I remember growing up when my grandmother always tell us, never leave any opportunities. Whatever doors open, take it. Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you pour enough into yourself to achieve all the goals that you want to achieve.
Yes, absolutely. Some people might say, okay, if you're born in the US, you're born with gold spoon in your mouth, right? As we would say in the Jamaican patois. But
Right.
so many here don't even realize it. Eh? Some might say, okay, oh, it's such a sad thing that you're born in a developing country. But the thing about it is that gives you so much perspective and longevity of thought. You can see so much further. You're ingenious. I mean, you don't take things for granted, right? It gives you perspective. And I appreciate that all day, every day. Just amazing. I love what you guys are doing. But so I don't know if you could share a bit about what life was like for you, both of you. Were you actually born on the island? How long did you stay there? What was it like in your formative years?
Yeah, we obviously were Jamaican native. We were born there. I love Jamaica. We get every chance we get to go back. We do, and like my sister said, we do a lot of nonprofit work in Jamaica because we want to make sure that we pay homage to where we're coming from. We want to make sure that we give back in a meaningful way as well, and make sure that we bring up young people who have experienced the kind of disenfranchisement that we have and the lack that we have. We want to make sure that we provide those same opportunities and access for those young people, just whose story resemble our story. So yeah, we were born with a teenage mom, but I was raised with my grandmother. I think my grandmother only had like a 6th grade education. My sister and my grandmother were living together. And of course, we were raised in the rural parts of Jamaica. So we did not have a lot of opportunities. But when we got to our teenage years, we moved to Kingston. And I remember going to St. Andrew High School and telling the principal that that's the school that we want to go to. And she, even to this day, she'll remember that we didn't want to take no for an answer because we saw my grandmother had such great aspirations for us, and, when you're living in poverty, you have to have those ambitions. Nobody desires to live in poverty or stay in poverty. And so she really pushed academic excellence for both of us. And we had always been excellent in our academics, which is one of the reasons why we end up getting into St. Andrew High School, even though it was in the middle of the school year and the principal said she's never had students actually come to her and advocate for themselves. Like, we want to be here. I think we were about maybe 13, 14, somewhere there. But she really loved our grit. She really loved our passion and our ambition and our drive to want to do and make life better for ourselves. And really and truly, not just for ourselves, but we had a grandmother who worked so hard that we wanted to really make her proud as well with the decisions that we make in our lives. And I think that's where we are coming from. We had an opportunity going to St. Andrew High School to make it to the Penn Relays, which opened up so many doors of opportunities for us. And that's how my sister and I actually end up getting scholarships to colleges in America. I went to Lee Howard University. And my sister went to University of Central Missouri. We had both academic and track and field and academic scholarships, and we both graduated top of our classes.
So tell me where in Jamaica, which rural area?
Trelawney, of course, where all the greats come from. Where all the greats come from. I think God really had a plan for us because some great people come out of Trelawney. And I think
name them.
Usain Bolt. Veronica Campbell.
I guess them producing all the big athletes.
Yes. And then there's the Global Teacher Prize winner.
That's amazing. So did you guys get into a different high school? Why did you, at 13, decide you wanted to go to St. Andrew?
Well, so, when when we were much younger and my grandmother moved to Trelawney. She was actually living in Kingston at the time. And we ended up moving to Trelawney because her mom lived there as well. And her mom was older. She was the only girl. And so she went to take care of her mom. And so essentially she was also taking care of us. And so we grew up there, and we ended up going to school there. And so following my great grandmother's passing, she wanted to provide more opportunities for us. And so we moved back to Kingston. And in that time span, we went to St. Andrew.
So you moved from a different school to St. Andrew, and the principal was impressed by, you ladies advocating for yourself. That's awesome. I haven't heard of a story. I think my dad advocated on my behalf, and he actually just recently told me that. So our family's from Westmoreland, my dad and mom, right? Both sides. And I got into a school there, St. Elizabeth Technical, and my dad was concerned about me traveling as far as I would have had to travel. So he was living in Kingston at the time. So he went to a principal, Excelsior High School is where I graduated from. And he went to the principal, Mr. Wong at the time, because it was close to home. Actually, I walked to school every day, and started advocating for me getting transferred from this other school so I could, move from my grandmother. And I guess that's, I was with both of my grandmothers for some time during my formative years as well. So I get that. And I have very tender places in my heart for these women, because, the culture is that the whole community helps to raise children. It's quite different here. You're on your own. So yes, and advocated for me, and he was sent away multiple times, and he never gave up, and he came back, and the principal eventually said, give a spot to me, because there were some spots that were unclaimed or the students didn't show up, and I ended up getting in. But for me, I think it was just fate. I felt like my years at Excelsior, I really feel like they prepared me for the person I am today. And yes, it wasn't necessarily one of the prestigious universities or high school, not universities, but high school in Jamaica. But I tell you, I had a great time, studied my languages, and I've been able to compete wherever I've been, working domestically, internationally, and so forth. I'm really blessed to have had that start. So my high school years have been quite a blessing.
That definitely goes to show a lot of times, it's not about where you start, it's where you end up. And also just, when you think about us ending up at St. Andrew High School, we could have probably ended up anywhere else and ended up and be where we are today. I think that it relies on the individual. What are your goals? What do you want for yourself? And also, how much are you willing to put in to get what you want? And I think that's what made the difference between where you start and where you end, which is, a testament to where we are today in our lives.
Yes, because I'm sure it wasn't easy with doing that transition. So you did pen relays, and then people were there. Is it scouters that actually picked you up, or how did that transition happen for you?
Well, actually, so I will say too, going to St. Andrew High School, let's take a step back, right? And not kind of sugarcoat it, right? Because we must understand the environment that we're in, particularly when you're in Jamaica and you come from a lower socioeconomic status, right? And I'll say to you, for everyone who is listening, for all the boys and girls who are in similar situation out of poverty, and we talked about advocating for yourselves, right?
Yes.
I want to let them know that they need to empower themselves, to speak up for themselves and to advocate for themselves, because many Jamaicans statistically are born out with single parents. And many of them end up living with their grandparents, similar to us. And their grandparents are literally just working to keep a roof over their heads and to put food on the table, and are not able to be involved in their school life and their school activities.
Yes.
And that was a similar scenario as ours, right? And that's the reason why I wouldn't say, they always say grow up too fast, right? And similarly, yes, we were able to take on responsibilities, which kind of led us to being very I'd say assertive, right? And empowered us to have a voice and to have our own voice. So there are some advantages to that, right? But there are disadvantages where the lack of empathy or the lack of, I feel, sometimes love that a child needs to feel, and abandonment or neglect or something like that, right? And so they go through that. But what I'll say is I encourage any student, boy or girl, in similar situation, trying to find opportunities for yourself. Don't give up. Think about the bigger picture and empower yourselves to do great things and advocate for yourself and find that voice and find that support for yourself. And speaking of support, when we went to St. Andre High School, we recognized that, of course, our poverty followed us, right? Regardless of the socioeconomic status now elevated, it still followed us, right? Because our situation, our position didn't necessarily change. But I remembered going to that school and starting track and field and realizing that it could be an opportunity to get us out of poverty and to get us a scholarship to college, right? And the great John Messam, rest in peace, he was our coach at the time, and he introduced us to some really great people who advocated for us, who saw our goals and our dreams and know that we wanted more. And so they definitely helped us and helped shape us and mentored us to be able to get some of the opportunities that we were able to get. So I'll say too is that surround yourself with people who can be in your corner, and people who can support you, and people who can uplift you and give you encouraging words, and people who are able to help you walk through those steps in life that can put you to the next level, right? And sometimes it takes one person to build those contacts for you. And so in that way, we were able to get some level of encouragement from him. We were able to train with him outside of school because we knew what our goals were. And then, of course, I will never forget, and I'll be remiss to mention Mr. Trevor Bolt, who was also our high school coach following John Messam. And I'll say they both were very influential in helping us grow in that regard in track and field, being athletes, right? Because we didn't know our own potential. And so, of course, Penn Relays was another stepping stone and was able to give us, was able to have people see us and scout us, as well as us taking initiative as well in looking up colleges that we wanted to go to. Right. And also doing some research on our own and background research. So when it came to talking to our coach about where we wanted to go and what opportunities were there, we reached out to coaches on our own and then tried to get some of those opportunities.
Yeah.
Right.
My sister mentioned a few people, but I also definitely would like to mention that Miss Sharon Reed, she also recently retired from St. Andre High School as the principal. And I know she knows our story well because she was also one of those people who really saw that my sister and I had talents, because even when we graduated from high school, we went back to her and told her that we wanted to come back to sixth form and we don't know how we would actually afford it. And she gave us the opportunity to come back, and the opportunity that she gave us to come back to St. Andre High School was that opportunity that allowed us to participate in track and field. That was when Coach John Messam actually had an opportunity to see us and train us. And he introduced us to Vilma Charlton, the former Olympian. And even now, to this day, again, she talked about building support around you and making sure that you form connections with these people. Vilma Charlton today is a mentor, and she supports what we're doing, support our organization. I can pick up the phone and call Vilma Charlton at any time. And she's always there in our corner to this day. So, and also Andrea Messam, with John Messam came Andrea Messam as well in our life, who have really served as the mother that we never really had. and even to this day, she's there, and she's one of our mentors, and she's one of our guides, and she's always playing a mother role as well, making sure that we stay on track, because she knows living in America is tough, and it's you go through really hard, challenging times. And again, my sister and I, when we think about family, we think more so of, again, they always have the saying, right? Family is not necessarily always the one you're born in. It's the one that you create for yourself, who surrounds you with love, protection, who guides you, who makes sure that, your needs from family, that is paramount, that those are met. Right. And it doesn't always have to come from your natural family, but those people who always look out for you. And I think that's what really fueled us and really helped us to be the people, the persons who we are from high school, and really wanting to advocate for ourselves, and going to the pen relays and seeing those coaches, and stepping out on your own, and going to those coaches and say, I see, we've done our research. And one other person I want to mention, Dr. Patrick Dallas. I remember when we were in high school, in our last year in high school, we had an internship with Dr. Dallas. And Dr. Dallas was, when we think about technology, right? We didn't really have technology accessible at school or even at home. And so the opportunity to do an internship with Dr. Dallas, whom Mr. John Messam also introduced us to, gave us the opportunity to sit there on computer. He owned a computer company at that time. And we would take our break time and sit on the computer and look up all these colleges and look up these multiple opportunities that we could get. And it really, those things fuel our ambition as well. And really wanted us to do more for ourselves. Because when you, again, we know that the computer is like a gateway to the rest of the world. So yes. Yeah, being able to navigate the world through those lenses allowed us to see what the possibilities for us could be.
Oh, amazing. Exposure, right? The internet just opens the world. If a child in a rural community anywhere is able to access the internet, and today social media, there's a lot being shared on social media as well. The exposure that they get, I mean, their ability to dream and to see themselves and envision themselves and so much more is very powerful. And you guys are sharing that. But powerful, yes. And sometimes you have to be your own advocate, right? And sometimes you don't know what you don't know. But when you are around people who you see they take, I had those people in high school. Up until today, I'm still in touch with them. My guidance counselor and French teacher, Miss Whiteman, Etta Whiteman, was my teacher. And I'm still in touch with her. Every time I go to Jamaica, I don't lose an opportunity to go make sure I see her every time when I go to Kingston. And my English lit teacher, Mrs. Housen, my history teacher, Mrs. Watson, or Mrs. Bromfield now. So I remember these ladies, and I am so grateful because, I through my interviews, I've been talking about people and getting a sense for what life is like in their country. And I didn't realize just how fortunate we were. I know there's issues. Jamaica has its issues, and that there's colorism, but the type of racial issues that are here in the United States, that was not in my mind as a young kid growing up. I see from very dark skinned people to the lightest of people sit in the same classroom. We get the same instruction. And if it means that this dark skinned person is smarter and it has the aptitude, we all have respect for this person. And so when I hear people say that, for example, in Latin America, they're being told that because you have a certain skin tone, you can't go to college or you can't go to university and you can't do certain things, and this is communicated by everybody. And so just know that Jamaica is a special environment. I know Jamaica has its issues, but I tell you that educational system that we have in Jamaica is bar none, okay? We can compete anywhere. And I remember people from our high school going off. I took the PSAT when I was in high school.
had universities mailing me, emailing me, or sending me mail, inviting me to attend their universities, or like our head boy going off and completing in math on a global level and scored so much higher than like people here in the US and other countries. And so, listen, we know that, Jamaica, that educational system, I just hope they're able to maintain it, because I know a lot of the teachers are now being hired away because of the better pay and opportunities for their families. And I get that, but I hope it doesn't change for the young people coming up. Okay. Yeah, I think we've kind of given our listeners a sense for what life is like in Jamaica and how proud we are to have been born and raised there. And I don't know, I'm kind of in mourning because I really want to take her back, my daughter back, so she can really absorb and be in that educational space where she's stretched, and the peer pressure to do well in school, because I'm not really sensing that level that we had growing up, that it's here. And so I want her to be around students who are gonna inspire her to want to do better. It's like a race to the bottom. I'm sorry. Sometimes.
What happened is that right before my daughter I have a daughter, right before she went to high school, I actually made her go to Jamaica, went back to my old high school, and she spent quite a few weeks there, almost a month there, in a travel abroad program that I created myself for her school. I was the PTA president at her school. And I realized that I needed my daughter to have this experience. And so I created the travel abroad program so that my daughter could actually have that experience. And she was able to go to Jamaica, spend time with a local family. And of course, when we talk about St. Andrew and we think about the students who live on the hill, I didn't want my daughter to have that experience. I wanted my daughter to have a regular Jamaican experience. And so we had her, I think she stayed on Hagley Park Road with a family, and she enjoyed it, even though they didn't have AC, but they had a mango tree in the yard. She got up and she was picking mangoes. She enjoyed the whole thing. She does track at her school, so she was able to also go there and do track and field with them, had an experience going to track meet with them. She had the whole gamut of the experience. She had an opportunity to also visit the hospital that I was born in, and shadow a doctor, because she also wants to be a doctor. She had the whole overall experience. She went to Dunsborough Falls, the Bob Marley Museum. I just really wanted her to live with an average family and just really had that true, authentic Jamaican experience. And like you said, get stretched a little bit, be pulled out of your comfort zone a little bit. When she saw those students and how they were learning, she was enamored. She really, really enjoyed the experience. And I think that really prepared her for high school as well.
So it's a study abroad program that you kind of curated, right? So she left her high school on a study abroad program for a period of time, and you basically curated the entire trip.
Yes.
While she was there. So it's not something that's more official where people can actually now loop into this program that you curated. It's more specifically for your daughter that you did that.
It was something specific for her school, not necessarily for her, but for her school.
Okay. All right. I see. All right. No, so my daughter
could have had the opportunity to do it as well. I'm not sure if they continued with it after we left, but it wasn't just for her. It was something that I really wanted to, because I'm a high school teacher and I'm also a travel ambassador. And so I've been on cultural ambassador trips with my students to different countries. And I wanted my daughter to have that experience before high school, because I thought that was a critical point in a student's learning and learning how to experience the world before they even go to high school.
Yes, no, definitely. I heard about a school out there through one of my interviewees, someone from Mexico, that her sister runs this school called Think Global, where the students act. Do you know about the school?
I've heard about Think Global, but I'm not familiar with whatever programs they have. but I'm
Right.
not
No,
sure of
I've
the
I've
name.
been at her now for a minute trying to get her to come on to tell us about it. Apparently the students get to travel, and actually a part of their learning is just going from country to country. And
Yeah.
it's very intriguing to
They
me.
have quite a few programs like that. And Washington, D.C., DCPS, District of Columbia Public Schools, actually have a program for that, because I was a travel ambassador for them as well, where students from all the different schools could apply and interview to be in this program. And every summer, they have different cohorts that go to specific countries.
Oh, very good, very good. Right. So that's good information for people who might be listening to and are wondering what they can do to expose their children to, another world and so forth.
Join us again next time for part 2 of this episode. We thank our listeners around the world, and we appreciate your continued support as we build our human library. Please remember to give us a 5-star review, subscribe, and share with your friends, family, and circle of influence.